between 2021 and 2023, so those 3 years, we had 18 cases noticed for appeal. When I came here last year about this time and was talking to you about having the agents take it over. So in April of 2024, we had 5 cases filed for that year already. And right now we have 19 on appeal. Those are ones that we may have more notice for appeal, meaning they're going to go from district court and they just haven't been docketed with the appellate courts because they have about 60 days to do that. And even if they don't do it in 60 days, the courts usually let them docket them out of time. So 19 I know have been noticed of appeal, are sitting at the Court of Appeals docketed and pending right now as we speak. So I think I told you when I came here last year that 3-year average was going to go up every year. So we're going to go on a schedule, and within 3 years, we'll probably get to a new average of where we're going to be. And then it's from my perspective, that's still a good money spent on the AG's office, because whether I do the appeal or they do the appeal, they get to direct how the appeal's done. So if I spend all my time working on a brief, hours and hours and across 2 or 3 months, and so I got these billable hours to submit to the county, the Attorney General has to approve my brief before I can file it. So if I brief an issue and they don't like how I do it, I get to redo it or do it the way they want to. So then there's back to the drawing board kind of thing for them. When having them do it is, if it's an issue that they have in Dickinson County and Ford County and Norton County and Wyandotte, they want them all briefed the same way, so they have that experience, the brief already done. It usually is a lot more efficient for them to do them because they're going to control them anyway. So when I can meet with Marcus and go ahead and do that, but I anticipate we're going to be in a bracket probably higher than we were last year, just based on the averages increasing now. I reported, I think the last couple of months we're full staff. We have all full attorneys, all 3 attorneys. We have all our paralegal staff filled. We're going to have an intern this summer. I anticipate her starting not the week right after Memorial Day, but that first week of June, and then staying with us through August. She's working right now on a student permit, or student law license is what I call it. They've changed the rule and the name of it a little bit since I got one, but basically what she can do is work under an attorney already. She can, do legal research and stuff like that. She can appear in court with one of us, get some practical experience doing some stuff while she's here. She's from Dickinson County. It sounds like she's interested in coming back and working here after she's done with law school. She's not sure she wants to be a prosecutor, but she wants to get some experience in that area before she decides what she wants to do. So we're really excited. We're going to have her come in here in June.
Work hard to convince her to stay.
Yeah, I don't think I have to convince her to stay in Dickinson County.
There'll be a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
Her name's Elise Jones. Yeah. She's just finishing her 2nd year at Washburn.
I think she's from Enterprise.
Yeah, Enterprise North of Chapman.
That's so cool. Local.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah. It's hard to get interns, isn't it? You tried.
It's hard to get interns. It's, and hard to get attorneys. I've talked to you about that, till I've been blue in the face. So it's really on the Supreme Court's addressing now. You've probably seen that in the news. And even this month, I've seen the Nebraska Supreme Court issuing emergency issues about the shortage of attorneys coming in Nebraska as well. So we're not unique in that challenge.
Right.
I'm going to ask you a question. It's only because I've had a very vocal group of people probably text me about this every week, and it's these automatic license plate readers.
LPO.
Yep. What they're claiming that these aren't constitutionally sound. What is your opinion on that?
So I don't want to get too much into the weeds of it because I'm not sure I know exactly the full extent of how they work. They're positioned on a public roadway.
Yep.
Whether it's a street in town or Interstate 70 or Highway 15, any of them. But my understanding is they take a picture of the license plate only. They don't take a picture of who's driving or not. And they're only maintained for a short period. I think 30, 60 days, depending on the department. So their usage, as far as investigative purposes, from my experience, what I've seen in our cases are law enforcement work together with those, so they share the information. So if there's a suspected drug trafficker, for instance, or human trafficker, they can follow that license plate through, somewhere in the eastern United States to, a drug source state, California, Colorado, and then they can track it on the way back and see, if they suspect that they're having a big load of drugs or anything like that, they can follow it basically and stop it. That's how I've seen it traditionally used. I know if you look at, I think some of the reports out of Wichita and bigger counties they're also used in like theft and burglaries. If a burglary is reported or if that's reported, they go to those cameras and see what vehicles may have passed by those in the area, may have come in and out of town around that time. Then if you have a description of the vehicle, even from anywhere, and you don't have the license plate, maybe that matching description of the vehicle will pop up on the license plate reader. And then the emergency situations where if a child's abducted or a vehicle's stolen or something like that, that plate goes into a database. And if it pops up on one of those cameras, then it alerts the law enforcement have access to those cameras right away. And I think one story you've probably seen that happened. They actually had an abducted child here in Abilene.
Yep.
So they've been around quite a while, actually.
They do. They're proliferating everywhere, really. Right. So the constitutional question, and you're on a public, you don't have a right to privacy operating on a public roadway anyway. The theory being if a cop wanted to sit there and watch you go by, they could. So the camera's sitting there stationary to see it, and that they're not being maintained, long term. They're to the point where they can see where you're traveling year to year to year to year. It's just the short term to.
That's how we knew our county truck drove through Gardens for a great bit after they stole it. They get on a license plate reader and reported it, said what.
And then they put on police vehicles too.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if the guys are on the interstate and a vehicle passes by and has a good enough view, it can read those plates if those emergency situations come up.
That's how we've had several cases, drug cases here in the county.
Yeah, one of the briefings we'd gotten, probably 6 years ago, maybe more, but someone had got pulled over and there were a couple in the car and they asked, where are you headed and where have you been? And their answers conflicted, but also they had the readings, so they knew where they'd been.
Right. So that's the law enforcement to see if the person's being honest with them about what the law enforcement already knows where that car's been.
It was a big drug catch. I can't remember if they said they'd come up from Dallas and they'd gone through Denver, 6 hours before or whatever.
Are they trying to do this too long?
Can you loan them out to folks that have teenagers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
You let me know if my kid goes by that camera.
I assigned for them and put the tractor on.
Well, my intention is I understand you're the chief law enforcement officer of the county. So that's why I just wanted to ask you. I figured you'd be the one to ask. And if anybody's curious, they can watch this work session and understand.
Yes, chief law enforcement officer, with the limitation though that they don't work for me. So I can
realize
tell them anything I want, but it's a suggestion.
Well, and basically,
Sheriff.
K-tag, if you use interstate for the turnpike, it's the same principle.
Right. It's good.
Other than
Bill every
you
month.
sign up for
You
it.
went through there, right?
You sign up for it, but if you drive through there, it's.
Yeah.
And so even though I didn't have one in Colorado, I got on their turnpike system and then they just sent me a bill about 3 weeks later and.
Right. Little high
Yeah,
bill, wasn't it?
Sometimes somebody will throw on the highway. Well, you followed me for 3 miles or 5 miles before you stopped me, or you followed me all over the streets of Abilene before you stopped me. Well, you're on a public street. There's nothing that stops a police officer.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's where I was anyway. But I just thought this would be a good time to allow you to speak.
It's
And how we're using them, why.
They've used it a lot here.
Yeah, and I'm with you. We saved, I believe it was a little girl, wasn't it, that was abducted? So, I have a little girl.
Right.
Do I care about the cameras after you told me that? Makes a lot of sense.
And especially when you know
One life is
limited,
Yes.
what they're being used for. Limited. You always hear of the bad apple who's going in there and searching for the.
I think that's what the citizens' concerns are. I think really what this comes down to is they're concerned people are checking on their spouses and just doing things they shouldn't be doing with the information. So I think that's the concern.
It's usually, again, my understanding, because I don't operate them or have access to them, but you can see he's looking at them too.
Right.
And so, and who's, if they're searching or putting in a license plate in, you can see who put that license plate in there to be monitored.
And I think there's restrictions on who can access the information and look at it too.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have to be vetted.
Yeah.
Audited
Okay.
as well.
I know the last several silver alerts have also been located by license plate.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I know we caught something of most wanted, didn't we? Kind of pretty big felons.
Mhm.
So
No, I don't think off of an LPR, he just ended up getting stuck. in
Oh,
the
just
can.
getting
I
stuck.
just found them. Okay. Well, good job. Thank you, Brock.
Any other questions for me? Happy to.
Thank you.
Well, and if they want to avoid that, they could take their tag off.
Yeah, that's- Could do that. Could do that. Does that show up when there's no tag?
Spray.
Ideas.
So if you're gonna break the law, you're telling me go grab the neighbor's tag and use that one?
I asked Chancy in case she had questions on that resolution, so.
I come on up, Shanty. I read through I actually went to FEMA and read through all this, so I don't have any questions. It made a lot of sense once I read that.
And I sent it to all the city clerks to give to their commission also, and along with all the school boards have it. And
Okay.
and several of them asked me back, what is it? What is this again? And I gave them a down and dirty to explain to their commission, this is what it is. And it just makes us eligible for funding after it's.
That's the way I read it.
But it also gives the planning part of it, like if you have a disaster, what you can do your after action and have your problems that are bad, those are mitigation items. And then we can add those to the plan. And that's what we've done in the past. So it's kind of important to keep it going because we know what we need. And this is a tool to fund that should something happen to us and money comes available.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for him? I read through it. You said it exactly how it is. I mean, essentially, if we want to apply for any grants or funding from the FEMA, if I understand it correctly, during one of these disasters, we need to have this a plan adopted beforehand. It's the way I read that regulation.
And we are critically the most important. Other people, other jurisdictions can umbrella under us. But if we haven't done it, they don't get anything. So it's really important for us to do it. And the other ones, we need them to adopt it just to show that they support the document.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, if you guys are curious, you can go read the regulation on FEMA.gov, but
This is the fourth one I've done. We have to do them every 5 years and we update them and I bring them to you. And then we've always supported it and had this completed.
Keep us ahead of the game.
Keep us on the ball. That's right.
I don't see any conflicts here, but good question, Lynn. Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question about something, and this is on the, which I'm asked in the community, on the sale of alcohol on Sundays, a resolution.
Yes.
With what hours would the county set for the sale of alcohol? And we haven't ever talked about it, but I mean, somewhat, but probably need to have that in discussion somehow. I've been asked often about it. And
Right.
Are there any establishments that are actually in the county that are selling the alcohol though? I mean,
Yes.
Yes,
I thought maybe you're referring to the liquor stores and they're all
No.
pretty much in the cities.
right. No, but there's a couple that are outside, like Walt's Four Seasons. There's one down at Woodbine as well. So, and it's something that I've got on my list of things to be looking at to work on. So,
I just didn't want to drop the ball on folks when they're asking me, and they want an answer. So whether you're for it, against it, or whatever, but
I'm not against it. I don't like Sunday alcohol sales before noon.
right,
I think it's a little
right, but,
I don't, didn't affect me, but
Sabbath, but
right, but after
yes,
noon to 6 or whatever.
that would be my position. I don't know.
yeah, I don't. I just want to answer the folks back.
I will start drafting a resolution and have Doug review it and then get it to you. Doug's not going to be here today. He's at a
And I agree with you. I don't think you go too late. 10's too late on Sunday.
I would agree.
And the state has a
Yes,
resolution.
I thought
We
they did.
follow the state, whatever the state says.
I thought they do too.
yes.
So
I'll get that going. I also have the resolution. I'll send it to you, or I can make a copy right quick if you want me to, for the fireworks. And Doug's reviewed it, and then I also had Tim review it because of the commercial side of it as well. So,
I'm fine with hearing that today.
okay.
You want to bring it real quick?
I'll get the,
24 minutes to decide.
okay, let me get you a
I
copy.
do have a question on the fireworks deal.
Uh-huh.
I'm good with everything, but the liability, I
Mhm.
mean, that, I know you could be little Johnny, 10 years old, shoot off a firework and burn somebody's $1 million house.
Back to your property insurance.
Would they cover it?
I honestly, I don't know.
Well, you need to do it.
It'd be up to you to get a waiver on if you're going to set off fireworks.
But to burn somebody else's house, not yours.
Right.
That's,
That's
I'm
probably a
just looking-
matter between the two
Yeah.
property owners.
Yeah, to be honest, you probably have to have personal
Yeah.
liability.
Let me run and make copies.
And I don't know if they would, probably would.
right.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to,
But at the same time, I guess
I want
I'll
it-
say it this way. At some point, it's that household's responsibility to run that portion. I mean, at some point, we're not involved, I guess. is what I'm saying.
I got you. I got you.
At what point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are we,
We don't want to be involved with that part of it because it's, like you said, it's,
it's not us, you know, it's a civil matter.
yeah.
But I don't disagree with.
Well, it's just like
Liability's a good thing.
liability for our automobiles or whatever. I mean, it's just,
100%.
right. Well, quick.
Let me start this real quick.
I get my phone to charge and I think, hey, that's right. And it wasn't plugged in all the way up here.
Did that last night.
Like this. More states. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. The areas that are highlighted on are the areas that I tweet.
I told them when they took a picture of me and hung up there, I said, all it's gonna do is scare the mice out of the basement.
You know? Well, admittedly, my brother said he came in and paid tax the other day.
Oh,
And he goes, are you even elected? Your picture isn't up there.
yeah,
I'm making all this up. I said,
yeah,
if I am, it's been a long dream.
your grandchildren and future children look up there and say, there he is, old son of a gun.
They're getting paid, man.
Huh?
They're getting paid. It'd be up on the tax sale.
Well, I tell you what, you want to take the harassment and
Oh, God.
everything if you were one of the ones that was on the right.
I'm,
There's been people come in before and say, you know, hey, we just missed it by 3 days or a week. Can you make sure our name's not on the list? And I don't think they can. I mean, I think once it's,
I missed it once and I think I was like a week late. I was working on the road a lot at that
Uh-huh.
time. And I think I was in the paper.
yeah,
And my dad called me, I just paid your tax. And then so the net, like, I think a week later, then that girl took care of that.
and there's,
I watched cattle market. It maxed out. Highest ever been,
It's crazy.
but sometimes you can't do certain bills though. So, but let me talk about taxes. I have a house in Manhattan. My daughters went to, when they went to college, got it. We're thinking, you know, it's going to help us out a little bit. Today, and I'm just defending Dickinson County now. Don't know if I'm in the air, but it's fine.
Got a few.
The taxes on it now, what payments used to be. Though you don't ever get ahead. So ownership, I'm not sure ownership's what you want. Because when your tax liability is what your payments were, we all buy things thinking, we want to get it done and be done with it and have it say it's ours. You're never done with it.
and the only thing is if you rent, your rent's going to get adjusted upward, but
Yeah.
and you know, something I hadn't thought about because, you know, I've always paid my tax.
I don't know who's this.
I've always,
Keep talking.
I've always paid my statement. I'm gonna quit, so I'll quit. But you know, there's some that they roll that into their house payment.
Yeah.
And
Fluctuates.
And so they put it in escrow and it was just happenstance. I happened to be at the bank and someone came in to make the payment. I said, well, it's higher than this. And, you know, they didn't mean it to be, it was supposed to be a private conversation, but I mean, I just don't agree with it. And he said, well, no, that's what it's always been. And I said, well, you know, evidently your insurance or your property tax or both went up. And so, you know, pay this, but, you know, catch it up next time. And, you know, we'll tell you, we can tell you what it is from here on. And, you know, so I mean, it hits everybody in some way or another, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, like my escrow is 10% higher this last year.
Yeah.
10% higher than it needed to be. So I also kind of went back to the bank. I'm like, can we, 10% is a lot, guys. Like,
Yeah.
10%, no. Well,
But some of that-
it was gonna go up. Though.
Could have been insurance.
Yeah, they thought it was gonna go up, so
Yeah.
I
It's
get it. Okay, consumer section.
I took out everything that had the word or pertain to a permit, except for the
Yes,
one.
I see that. I think it's good.
Okay.
It's fine.
Well, and the discharge period.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Okay.
I think you did just fine. Why don't we,
You want to put it on the agenda?
Yeah, I
today?
do.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
Okay, so then it would be 05/01/25A. And I'll print a clean copy without the yellow highlights.
Okay. I mean, unless you want me to wait, I don't see why we need to wait.
Okay, yeah, then it answers the question.
a good idea to get it done.
And they're waiting on us too. They give them 2 months to get the work out.
Yeah, these folks here did a good job with this budget. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's
Well,
We got good people.
I think we do too. And I think they're on board with
I know.
trying to get even better. And I think we're heading in a good direction.
Went out to state. I'm quite impressed with that audit. And each year it just shows the folks that we have here, how well they do in the county. I mean, it's important to have good people and to look at, I mean, we take they're the department heads. They run with the ball and give us that information, but they keep us on top of it.
Yeah, I think we'll get in a good direction. So, I added the firework.
Oh, do you want to give us those things we need to sign? Oh, you're adding the fireworks to the
Yeah.
agenda?
I guess you can sign the check if you want to sign it real quick. Yeah, I added the firework policy for today's agenda. It's pretty straightforward. Essentially taking the permit out of it and making it a time period. This is very similar, I believe, to Riley, I think does it this way, if I'm not mistaken. There's quite a few counties that do it this way. They don't, it's just a period that everyone gets a permit essentially. You know, I think we talked about it. We weren't really using the permits anyway to any sort of advantage.
Correct.
So why even do it?
I think Representative Hill, he has to go down to Kansas City and have cancer treatments that he's doing. And I think they feel optimistic and that they kind of have things reined in.
That's what he shared with me during the guest night. He said, don't worry about it. Okay.
But I think
It seems like a big deal not to worry about.
yeah.
But he said he was going to be just fine. So.
Well, I think some of that's based on, but I mean, it's certainly, yeah, you don't take it lightly at all. It is, I think they felt that they found out what was going on pretty quick.
I think that's the
And the
key.
surgical procedure went well, but I think he was having some other tests or something. And this happened to show up, you know. And so if he hadn't been having that other,
Well, my wife was
when it got
detected
so
with
quick.
it. We took her up to the university there and they removed it all.
Mhm.
And she,
That is for.
Don't sign that one, but I guess I'm going to pass it. Put that in there. Okay. This is basically what she changed. What this would have used to say is permits before.
Janelle,
Yes.
I want to personally thank you guys.
And then we added.
That's the staff. That's remarkable, just for the budget. No, I mean, you heard,
We tried really hard.
just a big thank you to you. You guys are what you do.
We do. So it's very important. We know.
Oh, there he is.
You guys are the continuity and the structure of this, the courthouse.
It's important. It absolutely is.
This week, I'm not too worried about it.
Okay.
So when this comes up, we vote to accept the audit?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I want to have a conversation. I think though that the representative on, I didn't want to take issue to it now, but I've noticed on the military installations, if you happen to talk to someone, you know, sometimes they'll say, well, Fort Bragg was the worst or Fort Hood. I mean, it kind of depends a little bit on the personality,
It does.
situation and their experience.
Mhm.
And some are kind of at a stage they aren't happy no matter where they're at. But I mean, we have General Wiggins and his command sergeant major.
Mhm.
And
Campaign
that command sergeant major, I think, also was command sergeant major for the
first
previous
infantry.
general before that. And, you know, they bought land here and one's built a house and the other's bought an existing house.
Also on Rain Road, you got the good friends of mine, Colonel Friel, they bought the Baku's place. They were in DC,
Mhm.
Pentagon, but they went to school with General Williams. They're all
okay.
buddies, went to school together. So all those folks were friends. But you can almost draw a line where they're living.
And then see the garrison commander, former,
Lives here.
lives here in town, bought Penniman's house and he had looked at Junction City and
Mhm.
Manhattan and he just thought the value and plus he just kind of liked the pace of everything here. And, you know, so I mean, there's a lot that would say Fort Riley is the best and especially the way the communities get involved with them.
Right.
Is
It
that
didn't used to be, yes,
is
it
on?
didn't used to be years and years ago when my father-in-law was in, and they did not want to live in Junction just because of the atmosphere.
Mhm.
But yes, yeah,
The young soldiers, and I got 20 years experience working with them. And I'd ask them point blank, why don't you like Fort Riley?
Mhm.
For a young soldier, and this is a young soldier's eyes, I shared it with command staff. There's nothing for them to do in Fort Riley.
Right.
Okay. And so they like to go to Kansas City in those areas where there's lots,
Mhm.
they get in trouble. Come on, you don't get in trouble. But and that's the young soldier. The older guys,
Mhm.
they love the housing situation. And the ones that love the outdoors, the hunting, fishing and that, they loved it here.
Mhm.
And obviously the price of these homes.
Right.
People on the east and west coast, you won't buy homes like you're buying for here.
Mhm.
So this is cheap, cheap, cheap.
Right. And it depends on the base too, because I have a nephew that's stationed in Yuma, Arizona right now, and he's not enjoying it. He's going to stick it out, but he's not enjoying it there because it's Yuma. I've never been, I don't know, but still, each base is
Sometimes their
different.
first impression and it kind of depends on who you talk to.
And the other,
And I always thought it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you'll talk to someone ready to graduate from high school and it's like, oh, are you going to come back? And it's like,
Absolutely.
oh, I'm
Mhm.
gone. I'm going to the big city or I'm going to another state or whatever.
Mhm.
And then 10 years later,
They're back.
they're back here. And it's like, what drew you back? It's, well, you know, I kind of like it here.
Mhm.
I know people here.
the world isn't at peace. And I've lived in a lot of areas in the world. This is, when you can walk out your door and not get hurt,
Right.
or threatened or whatever, that's remarkable. And this is what we have here, you can't buy. It's not that way all over the world, I'll guarantee you.
That's one of the attractions of,
Absolutely. It's just,
Well, I tell you, of course, we all see it, but you look at Wichita and then in Kansas City, for example, and I mean, they have a shooting every weekend
right?
and in between, you know, it's kind of like, oh my goodness.
it's, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
But I did want to kind of
Mhm.
bring that up and maybe I could invite them to the Military Affairs Council, because that's one of the things they work on is
right.
bridging the relationships between the civilians and the communities and the military. And
I know you said he's on the, I wonder who the chairman of that committee is at the state.
Veteran Affairs.
Yeah.
and I'm sure he knows General Wiggins.
He wants to come in and we'll do this a little more often. I said,
I think it'd be good. And I tell you what, the leadership down at Topeka is going to go through quite a few changes. Because if Vicky Schmidt follows and does run for governor, that's going to open up the insurance commissioner spot. And probably the speaker is going to pursue that.
is that what he's trying?
His background's insurance.
Louis Bloom's on that committee too.
Who is?
Louis Bloom is. So the chair is Mike Thompson, which I think he's from Johnson County.
I think so.
And then Representative Mary Lynn Hoskins. Do I have the right year? Make sure I have the right year, yeah. And then Louis Bloom, Sidney Carlin, Sean Chauncey, Kenneth Collins, Dan Goddard, Scott Hill, Timothy Johnson, Susan Ruse, Megan Steele, and Virgil Weigel.
I only know about 3 of them. They kind of go through turnovers down there.
I did, plugged it up here, kept trying it different ways. It happens. Like, oh, I keep going.
Get sick.
That's what I'm, yes, it's been going around. And I don't know if it's allergies or a combination.
About 100.
Bad stuff. I know that. I'm trying to shake something.
Mhm.
Boy,
Just hangs on
it's, yeah,
and you're drained.
yeah.
So right after this meeting, is that the plan?
Well,
That over
get
there?
out there right quick. I don't think it's gonna take us very long.
I don't think so either.
Right. And I do have, I'll bring the maps and stuff or the proposal from Call Valley is what they were looking at, and
Look,
I'll bring that to you. So Martin will meet us right out there. I'll text him as we,
This is the existing place where they're at now.
that is part of the discussion, yes.
basically, I asked, why can't we use it? And could you show us why?
Wow, we got you.
And I will say, it could be used, but we're shutting everything down for a year and a half, which that's a,
And I agree with that too.
that's.
And you know, Chanel, this goes back a lot of years back, that hauling garbage and stuff. It goes back.
Mhm.
Well, we're talking about land prices. I was just sharing Kenya today. Friend of mine bought some land east of Manhattan
Uh-huh. Uh-oh.
last year,
Pasture?
10. And it was, they were bidding up, I think, higher. He just got in, he happened to know the owner. Otherwise, it had gone past that.
Oh, wow.
Things just go, there's no end to it. Whatever they pay for it, they want to pay. We can't,
Fine.
you can't.
For crying in the night.
Unless you got a lot of money in the bank.
Well, I don't go. You know, it just looks like all of us,
Wherever you are.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So I thought 5 was a lot.
Right.
So we talked the other night.
Mhm.
So but when do you sell?
Well, there you
Just get rid of it.
go.
In a new era as far as.
It's changed, man. And my thing is money does it really have value though? Or would other things, a house and stuff have more intrinsic value?
Right, right,
You know, because each year it takes a bucket load of money.
right, right.
We were like, Lynn, we have to worry about it.
You want to buy this pen from me?
I noticed you got one of those, so.
Oh, what,
I was going to say something to Scott that
where'd that come from?
So the KCCA, they had the
Oh.
Kansas Department of Labor, they were there, so.
and the guy that did the presentation was bald, or shaved his head, so he said he was the model. For this,
Oh,
so
good deal, good deal. Yeah.
The call is meeting to order. If all rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. We'll have too many items today. We'll have minutes to approve. Looks like we have a notice of the Kansas Water Pollution Control Permits for Justin Reynolds feedlot at 2450 Deer Road. We also have a resolution 050125, an all hazard mitigation plan with FEMA. This would be unfinished business, and then an unfinished,
It's under resolutions.
correct.
Yes, yeah.
No, on the firework, because we added that.
Oh, that could go into resolutions as well.
We will also hear a resolution on the fireworks sale policy for the county. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know the right words for that. We'll also consider the fiscal year 2024 audit today as well. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Wait, are you doing the regular agenda?
Approval
or the consent?
agenda, regular agenda.
We can talk about this real briefly. I was told to approve consent agenda
And-
because then we could technically, you could, if you didn't want to hear something, this would be your time to say, hey, I would like to remove that from the agenda.
Well, the consent agenda is your minutes and your expenditures and whatnot.
Okay.
The regular agenda is the business.
Okay.
They're both business.
So
but-
we don't need to vote on that.
Well, we typically, what we've done is we vote on the agenda and really that's
The whole thing.
this whole outline.
Okay.
And then after that, we'd go to the consent agenda and that's where we can set things aside to discuss.
Okay. So then let's do that. So then basically what you're telling me is approve the agenda now and then we'll go start working through it.
So I'll make the motion to approve the agenda
As a,
as amended with the additions that you put on there.
And I'll second that.
I'm taking notes for Jennifer, so I want to make sure I got it right. So,
Lynn motion, Ron seconded.
Mhm.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda. Minutes are provided in your packet for April 24th meeting. Expenditures of $148,730.98. Hand checks of $31.51. Indigent, defense, $17,400. SD security, $4,617. The new synergy for $511.40.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to commissioner comments and committee reports. We'll start again this week back on the other end. Ron?
Real quickly, I'd like to be thankful for the rain we've gotten. Our ponds are filling up, so that things look pretty good out in the country. I did spend some time at the Juvenile Detention Center in Junction City yesterday, and things are going well. Obviously, it's full, but they're doing a good job and we're hanging in there. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Ron. Lynn?
I don't have anything today.
And I'll be real honest, I don't believe I do either. There's a few things we're working on, but I don't believe it's quite ready for public.
You might mention that we're going on that tour after,
That's a good point. I was going to.
right? Because that's probably the only thing that we've got going right now.
After the meeting today, county administration and county commissioners will briefly take a tour of our solid waste facility here in the county to talk about possible future projects with that program. No votes will be taken. We are not going to talk about agenda. It's simply a visit to the facility. So no decisions will be made. Moving on to presentation of petitions and proclamations, we have none. And now we'll go to public comments. If County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf would read the rules, please.
for the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During their regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. It is at the discretion of the county commission if they allow comments on agenda items. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comment shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Seems a bit silly when we're empty.
Well, they know the rules if they're or the guidelines.
True, if they're online, that's a good point.
And there's no one online that wants to comment.
I don't believe so.
Doesn't look like it. No hands are raised.
Hearing no public comments, we'll move on to reports from county officers. So first, we'll have County Administrator Janelle Dockett.
Commissioners, our Register of Deeds has filled their part-time position. So Brenda Lemon started on Monday. The Health Department, we still have an open RN position for the WIC nurse. So if anybody's interested, please contact John or fill out an application online. Camp Road is closed from K18 to 3400 Avenue to replace several small structures. And there were 7 of them, and they have 4 of them done currently, which is good. The Public Works Department is blading roads, weather permitting,
Real
and
quick, sorry to interrupt you. Do you have any idea when they think they'll be done with Camp Road?
thought they were going to be done this week, but the weather is going to hinder that a little bit. So
Could be a week
it will
longer,
be,
maybe.
right. I'm sure the plan is not to keep it closed very long, but
Thank you.
they are blading roads because of the rain that we've had, and they're also spraying for noxious weeds, weather permitting. The emergency manager is working on an advanced spotter training for our first responders, and I'll have a date on that here shortly. We did, because of the hailstorm that came through, have hail damage to 2 county vehicles. One of them's an ambulance and the other's the community paramedicine vehicle, and the roof at the health department. So we do have our insurance carrier coming in to check all of the roofs. We did have somebody that we've worked with in the past on roofs take a look at it, and he's not seeing much damage, but we'll have insurance double check just to be safe. And this is a state project that on May 5th, KDOT will start work on the mill and overlay project on K43, and they're going to start in Navarre and finish up that area, and then they'll move back to Interstate 70 and then finish up the rest. And I don't remember how many days that project is going to be, but it's very desperately needed. So.
And that's roughly a $3 million project, isn't it?
Yes. And the other thing is the UP Railroad is repairing the tracks over here. So that is closed on Buckeye Avenue, and it is closed from today. It started this morning through Saturday, May 3rd. Unfortunately, this was permitted from KDOT to be a 1-day project, and they came back, and since they're replacing some of the tracks, it's ended up being 3 days. So, and it is a city, it's in the city, but it impacts a lot of people coming to the courthouse. So, and that's all I would have unless you have questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. Just to reverberate Buckeye, if you're coming from the south and the north, trying to go north or south over the railroad track, you're not going to make it. You're going to need to take a different route. I would suggest 3rd Street or possibly Brady. Okay. Moving on, we'll go to County Councilor Doug Thompson. I don't believe he's in attendance today.
He's at a conference.
He's at a conference today. We'll move on to notices and communications. We do have a notice today from the Department of Health and Environmental Safety for a Kansas water pollution control permit. This pertains to the property owned by Justin Reynolds, The Ridge, 2450 Deer Road, Abilene, Kansas, 67410. And like I said, this is just a public notice of that. I'll open it up for any discussion of that notice.
KDHE just sends that out to all the counties and anyone that's impacted, so.
And it'll be posted in the clerk's office in case somebody has a question.
You guys can see that. Oops, sorry.
No, that's good.
Once again, just a notice, so no vote needed, but the notice has been given. Commissioners are looking at it. With that being said, I'll go ahead and move on if you guys are okay. I'm now going to entertain introduction and consideration of resolutions. First one on the docket is resolution 050125, all hazard mitigation plan. We heard about this in our study session with Chancey Smith, the Fire Emergency Management Director. I also researched this a little bit last night along with the other commissioners. What this is a mitigation plan in coordination with FEMA. We have to do this if we want to get any sort of grants or any sort of money back. If we do, heaven forbid, have an emergency situation, we have to be on the standards and regulations that FEMA has put out. I believe I'm wording that correctly.
Yes.
With that being said, I will open it up to the commissioners for comment or discussion.
It's kind of a housekeeping thing because we do this every
5 years.
years. I would move that we adopt resolution 050125 for the all hazard mitigation plan.
Second,
I'll second it.
any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That's already signed. Moving on to
Have that in there.
Moving on to the second resolution in consideration today, it is a resolution relating to the use, possession, and sale of fireworks in Dickinson County, Kansas. Resolution number 050125A. I'm not going to read all this, but the big notes out of this to the public to know is that we are no longer going to require you to have a permit, but now we're going to give you an allotted time to purchase and to discharge of your firearms. And also it's going to pertain to the sale of the firearm as well. Fireworks, sorry. That's a big difference. That's a pretty big difference. I apologize. Thinking of anyway. And really what this reads is that we are now going to allow you to discharge fireworks from July 1st to July 4th. If July 4th falls on a Thursday or a Friday, we're going to allot you that additional Saturday, July 5th, to light off the fireworks. Discharge hours are between 8 a.m. and 11:30 p.m. Like I said, no more permit required. We talked about the permits and how they were being utilized. I don't think we were really using them. We were asking for them and no one was really doing anything with it. We found that that's pretty much an unnecessary service that isn't being utilized. So we just said, let's cut it. Everyone's going to light fireworks on July 4th anyway. Why fight it? So this
And there's
is
the personal responsibility that people have, and they carry the personal responsibility, but everyone wants to be safe. But we still want the celebration, so.
And this, just for note, this is not abnormal. There's quite a few other counties that do their firework policy this way. I think it makes the most sense. Everyone's going to light fireworks. I don't see the need to give a permit to Americans on that day. Ron, do you have any comments?
No comments.
I would consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the 050125A resolution.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I think some of the cities have been discussing this too. So, I mean, they're going to follow the action just to, that way we're all on the same page.
Yep, that's a good note to make. I had a couple texts go from Solomon and Abilene asking us what our policy was going to be, and they wanted to follow the county policy. So we'll get that out to them. I believe Janelle was going to reach out and give it to them.
Yes.
I know what's going on. Moving on to other business, there's no unfinished business today. In other business, we are considering the fiscal year 2024 audit and the approval of the audit. We had a study session earlier with the representative from Varney and Associates. I'm going to summarize here. He told us there was no discrepancies, nothing in this audit that would indicate any malpractice or unethical accounting practices. It was a good audit, in other words, and everything is accounted for according to the firm. And this is an accurate and good audit of the county for 2024, clean audit. I'll open it up to the commissioners for comment.
I'd like to say just for a minute that I think the staff and Janelle leadership, our commissioners leadership here has done a wonderful job this last year with that audit. You know, that it's not everybody that has an audit this nice. And you've had it for the 5 years that I know of. It's been just wonderful. I mean, it's not just
Thank you.
just recently it's been going on. That tells and lets us know what kind of people we have working for us. And I as a commissioner, definitely, I'm sure the rest of them do appreciate the work that you guys do for us.
Well, we couldn't do it without support of the commission, definitely. So we appreciate that.
And a lot of on this, groups like Varney, the CPA group, there's not many CPA groups that will do audits. And so we're fortunate we have one that's close by and reasonably priced. But they do look for compliance. They do look at the numbers. They do come here and visit with people, and they make some random calls just to get feedback in that regard. And the accounting practices and procedures are very uniform, and there's an expectation on how they should be. So, so really, it's helpful for us to have this, but also like Ron mentioned, it's a affirmation that things are being done properly and in a professional manner here locally. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. If anyone out there is curious to the standards that they are held to, it is outlined in the audit, but it's the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide, KMAAG, which is prescribed by the state of Kansas on regulatory practices when it comes to audits. If you're curious what the regulations are, I encourage you to go out and read that guide. It's a long one. I started it. And I don't really understand it. I'm not an accountant, but it is very expensive.
Yes.
So with all that being said, commissioners, I would go ahead and motion that we accept this 2024 audit of Dickinson County. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will accept this audit. I can sign this. Okay. I can keep this, right?
Yes, that is one for each.
And then all three of us signed that last paper. We want to make sure we do that before we leave.
Yeah, we'll make sure
I believe we got
on the
everything.
resolution all.
Yeah, I'm going to mention too, or Kenny, if you want to, Representative Scott Hill was in earlier this morning too, and gave us an overview of what took place in the last legislative session, some of the things that he anticipates, and also he wants to be very communicative and visit with us on occasion. So it's good to have that relationship because they make decisions down there that impact us. And it's a good line of communication to have.
I see there's some folks online. We now put these, the work sessions online as well. So if you're curious what Representative Phil had to say, I encourage you to go to our YouTube page and to view that work session. You can hear everything he had to say and the questions that we offered back and forth. Give you a little bit more insight to the relationship between the state and the county. And I think it'd be worthwhile to understand that relationship if you're interested. Okay. I will motion for adjournment.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion for today?
And just as part of that adjournment, as you mentioned earlier, from here, we're going to go out to the transfer station and do a visit there. So even though it's not a public meeting, any action be taken. If anyone from the public chooses to go out there while we're there, that's fine. We're pressed, so.
We're going to go out there right after the meeting. So if you're really interested, come on out.
Load your trash up.
I motion for adjournment. Do we have a second?
We did, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned. Thank you, guys.
You know, it doesn't happen, they keep on record because the clerk will have that on file if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Because that has to be posted there.
Whether that goes with it.